last train sat waiting, its windows glowing softly in the dark. She stepped inside, choosing a seat by the window, the rhythm of her own heartbeat filling the silence. Moments later, Daniel entered. She hadn't seen him in 3 years, yet his presence was unmistakable, the same steady gaze, the same quiet smile that had once unraveled her defenses. Their eyes met, and time folded back on itself. He hesitated, then walked over. "Is this seat taken?" His voice carried the same warmth she remembered. Emma shook her head, unable to form words. He sat, and for a moment, the hum of the train was the only sound between them. Finally, Daniel spoke. "I didn't expect to see you again." "Neither did I," she admitted. Her fingers twisted nervously in her lap. "How have you been?" He gave a small laugh, bittersweet. "Busy pretending I don't think about you every day." Her breath caught. The years apart had been filled with unspoken words, letters never sent, and late-night thoughts of what if. She turned to him, her eyes shining. "I thought I was the only one." The train began to move, carrying them through the sleeping city. Daniel leaned closer, his voice lower now. "I should have fought harder for us. I let the distance, the fear, everything get in the way." Emma felt her heart tremble. "We were younger then. Maybe we had to lose each other to realize what we really wanted." Silence lingered, heavy but tender. Then, slowly, Daniel reached for her hand. His touch was familiar, grounding, as though no time had passed at all. The world outside blurred by, but in that small train car, everything still. For the first time in years, they weren't running away from the past, they were stepping into the future, side by side. Emma leaned her head against his shoulder, and he pressed a gentle kiss to her hair. The train carried them forward, and so did hope, quiet, steady, and infinite. The night was unusually quiet as Emma waited on the nearly empty platform. The train was late, and the cool autumn breeze brushed against her face. She clutched her scarf tighter, her mind drifting back to the letter she hadn't sent. It had been months since Daniel left for another city. Their goodbye was supposed to be temporary, but silence had grown between them. Emma had written countless letters, none of which ever reached his hands. Fear of rejection had stopped her every time. The train's headlights appeared in the distance, scattering her thoughts. She stepped closer to the edge, watching the light grow. That was when she heard a voice. "Emma?" Her heart stumbled. She turned, and there he was, Daniel, standing with the same nervous smile she remembered. His hair was a little messier, his coat worn from travel, but his eyes, those warm, steady eyes, looked at her like no time had passed. "Daniel," she whispered, unable to move. "Why are you here?" "I took the wrong train," he said softly, almost laughing. "Or maybe the right one." He hesitated, then pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. "I wrote you something, but I didn't know if I'd ever give it to you." Emma's chest tightened. Slowly, she pulled out her own letter from her bag, its edges worn from being unfolded too many times. "I wrote you something too," she admitted. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Daniel stepped closer, closing the gap that months had built. His voice trembled. "I missed you every single day, Emma. I thought maybe you had moved on." Her eyes glistened. "I never stopped thinking about you." The train screeched to a halt beside them, but neither turned to board. Instead, Daniel reached for her hand. She let him, feeling the warmth she had longed for. Then let's not waste any more time, he said. The letters remained unread in their hands as the train departed without them. On that quiet platform, with autumn leaves swirling around their feet, Emma finally smiled, a smile that belonged to both of them, to a love that had survived distance and silence. It wasn't the last train home after all. It was the first step back to each other. By the river. Every Saturday morning, Emma sat by the window of the little cafe overlooking the river. She loved the quiet hum of conversations, the aroma of fresh coffee, and the way sunlight danced on the water. But most of all, she loved waiting. 2 months ago, she had bumped into Daniel there, literally. She spilled her latte all over his notebook, ruining his sketches. Mortified, she offered to buy him another drink. Instead of being upset, he laughed, his warm smile making her heart race. Since then, they had fallen into a rhythm. He came with his sketchbook, she with her favorite novel, and they shared the corner table. They didn't always talk. Sometimes he sketched her without asking, and she pretended not to notice. Sometimes she read aloud a line that moved her, and he listened with quiet intensity. But Emma never knew what they really were. Friends? Something more? The question lingered, unspoken. One Saturday, rain poured outside, blurring the river view. Daniel arrived late, damp and breathless. He placed his sketchbook in front of her, flipping it open. Page after page was filled with drawings, her smile, her hair, her eyes lost in thought. Her throat tightened. Daniel, why? He looked nervous for the first time since she met him. Because you're the reason I come here. Not the coffee. Not the view. Just you. For a moment, Emma couldn't breathe. Then she smiled, reaching across the table to take his hand. Good. Because I was waiting for you to say that. Outside, the rain kept falling, but inside, the little cafe felt like the warmest place in the world. The bridge at dusk. Evelyn had always loved the old stone bridge that stretched across the quiet river. It was her refuge, the place where she often escaped with her sketchbook to capture the way the light played on the water. She never imagined it would also be where she'd meet someone who would change everything. It was late autumn when she first saw him. A man in a navy coat stood at the center of the bridge, gazing at the horizon. His posture carried both calmness and loneliness. Evelyn hesitated, then walked closer. "Beautiful sunset, isn't it?" she asked. He turned, surprised, then smiled. "It feels like the sky is on fire. I come here often when I need to think." His name was Daniel, an architect new to the city. They ended up talking for hours, their words flowing as naturally as the river beneath them. When they finally parted, Evelyn realized she hadn't laughed that freely in a long time. Days turned into weeks. They began meeting at the bridge almost every evening. Sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose. Evelyn sketched while Daniel shared stories about the buildings he dreamed of creating. Slowly, their lives intertwined, stitched together by conversations, quiet silences, and the comfort of simply being near each other. But winter arrived, and with it, Daniel's dilemma. He had been offered a position abroad, a chance to design a landmark that would define his career. The night he told her, snowflakes drifted through the air. "I don't want to leave," he admitted, his breath visible in the cold. "But this is everything I've worked for." Evelyn's heart ached, though she forced a smile. "Then you should go. Dreams matter." He looked at her for a long time, as if memorizing her face. "So do you." Weeks passed without him, and Evelyn returned to the bridge alone. She drew, but the sketches felt hollow. Until one evening, as the first blossoms of spring brightened the riverbank, she found Daniel standing there again. "You came back," she whispered. "I realized something," he said softly. "Dreams mean nothing if I can't share them with you." Evelyn dropped her sketchbook, running into his arms. The bridge, once a symbol of solitude, now became their beginning, a place where love had quietly taken root, and where it promised to stay.